us and thank you for tuning in to our information session. I have Dr. Weiss with me. We'll be talking about the Conflict Resolutions and Negotiation Master's Program here at Bay Path University. We have some good stuff coming up for the fall semester with this program, and we're definitely excited about it. My name's Rashida Thornton. I am the Assistant Director for the Grad Admissions program. So working together, the two of us can get you into the program and have some good things going ahead for you. When we look at BayPath at a glance, typically students like our program, one, because we have a local Long Meadow campus that is 5.4 miles away from the East Long Meadow campus. And typically for our traditional students, we have all female oriented. And for our East Long Meadow, that is co-ed as well as our online program. So for our online program where you do undergrad and graduate, it is co-ed as well. So you'll be able to interact with a lot of diversity within the community of students as well as staff. We are a nonprofit private institution that you'll be working with. We currently have closer to 5,000 students that are currently attending our university, as well as over 20,000 worldwide. So Dr. Weiss can attest, we actually have students that attend our university from California, out of the country, and they're still in the programs and they're doing phenomenal. So our students love our professors because they adapt to making you feel comfortable. We also are accredited through the New England Commissions of Higher Education. So you will be recognized even when you move into, let's say, a doctoral program by having that accreditation under your belt. When we're looking at it, also, we provide a lot of flexibility for our students. So your professors are always open to work with you. They're quick to respond to you, as you'll hear through the communications today with Dr. Weiss. We'll also go into the creativity that our professors show you, whether you're doing lab work or whether you're doing your coursework for the classes that we use for schooling. So we'll definitely get into that. The faculty that you work with are very supportive. The staff, as in myself, the registration office, the Career Success Center, we all are very supportive of our students and we want nothing but the best for you as you go through the programs here at BayPath University. And whether you're virtually attending an event or in person, Dr. Weiss can definitely attest when we do the Women's Leadership Conference is a big thing, and we have people from all over that come. So you guys are definitely welcome to that, and you'll hear more about stuff as we go through the slides today. So I am going to turn it over to Dr. Weiss, and he will be going over, as the program director, his program and all the awesome things that go with it. And I'll go into the admissions part in the end. Thank you, Dr. Weiss. It's all yours.
Thanks, Rashida. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to kind of tune into this and learn more about the MS in conflict resolution and negotiation. Very proud of the program. We've been around the beginnings of this program. Were in 2014, so we are about 12 years into the program and beginning our 12th year. And it's a unique program, and I'm happy to tell you more about it and give you some insights into the kinds of things that you would learn if you were to take on this fulfilling challenge, is the way that I would put it. But let me just start with a story, because I love stories, and what you'll find when you join the program is that we use a lot of case studies, a lot of story-based learning, because people really can resonate with stories, they understand them, and stories stick with us in a really unique kind of way. So the story that I want to share with you um, has to do with this scenario. So there once was a rider on horseback who many years ago came across a squad of soldiers who were trying to move a heavy piece of timber. A corporal stood by, giving lordly orders to heave. But the piece of timber was simply too heavy for the squad. Well, why don't you help them? The rider quietly and respectfully asked. Me? Why, I'm a corporal, sir. Dismounting, the rider carefully took his place with the soldiers. Now all together, boys, heave, he said. And the big piece of timber slid into place. The rider mounted his horse and addressed the corporal. The next time you have a piece of timber for your men to handle, corporal, send for your commander in chief. The horseman was George Washington. Now, what I love about this story is we have a problem. We have a conflict, a situation that is not getting done in the way that it needs to. And the corporal who is barking out orders instead of thinking, how do we get this done, is taking what I would call a hierarchical approach to a situation. And the situation isn't going to get better unless you do what George Washington did, which is you get down with people, you roll up your sleeves, and you engage with the problem and the challenge. And that's what we do in this program is we help you to learn how to engage with people challenges. From my point of view, this program is all about a deep dive into dealing with people. And sometimes I get the question, how is this different from say an MBA? And I think that would be really the answer, which is that we don't focus on budgets, finance, and things along those lines, data analysis and things like that. What we do is we really help you to understand how do people work? How do they tick? How do I understand how to get through to people in challenging and difficult situations, etc. So if that's what you're looking for, this is the kind of program for you. So let me say a little more about all of this. This is an MS in conflict resolution and negotiation. And the reason that we focus on these two realms is because these are the kinds of challenges that our day is filled with. Now, let me just start with negotiation, okay? So most people say to me, but I'm not in sales or procurement, so why do I need to negotiate? And the reality is actually that you negotiate all day, every day. Um, when I talk about negotiating, anytime you're trying to persuade somebody to do something perhaps they don't want to do, anytime you're trying to create a deal with a client or external customer, um, anytime you're trying to sell an idea to your boss or your coworkers or things like that, you're negotiating, right? So that's one thing that we do on a regular basis at work. The other is that we end up disagreeing with people from time to time. Conflict, even though people are very afraid of it, is kind of a natural part of the decision-making process. From time to time, Rashida and I see different worlds, and that's okay. We have different perceptions of what's going on, and conflicts can arise. And what makes conflict positive or negative is how we deal with it. And I think that's the challenge for a lot of people is they don't know how to deal with conflict. And so what most people do is they get defensive. They get into instinctual mode, which means that we protect ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is hard to get creative and to think differently when we are protecting ourselves. So what I want to try to sort of land with you here as a way of thinking about this is think about conflict as a natural part of the decision-making process. And by the end of the program, you're going to have the knowledge, skills, and ability to handle conflicts as they arise. And when that happens, you'll notice that you're able to manage your way through these productively. Now, I can't tell you that just because you come into this program and spend a year or two studying that you're going to deal with this perfectly every time. Doesn't work that way. I've been involved in the field for 30 years. Yes, I'm that old. And I still make mistakes all the time. I don't resolve every conflict the way that I would like. It happens. When human beings are involved, all bets are off. We don't know. But if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have knowledge, and if you don't have the skills, there's very little chance you're going to succeed when a problem and a challenge like this arises. So that's the intersection between the two. And when you combine these, you have a very powerful toolbox full of tools to use as you go through not only your working life, but also your personal life. A lot of the students say to me that they absolutely love how we connect theory to practice, how we weave in assignments into their working world and get them to grapple with the challenges they have. But they also love it because it helps them to learn about their partners and how to deal with them better. And if you have kids, conflicts arise and you have to negotiate with them pretty frequently. And so I get a lot of emails from my students saying, hey, this stuff actually really works with my kids, which is great. So these are life skills. And I think that's something important to understand that when I first learned how to do all this, I remember being really surprised how my life had changed and that I was before learning this, I would feel anxiety. I would feel concern and worry when a problem would arise. I wouldn't want to damage the relationship. I wouldn't want to um, handle something inappropriately. And then I learned all of this and I realized that there's a way to do this, but you have to learn it like anything else. Like we learn how to do math problems, we learn how to read and write effectively. Well, dealing with conflict and negotiating is no different. So, with that said, let's keep on keeping on. So, why are conflict resolution and negotiation so important to understand in today's workplace? So, the first thing I would say is that lots of people feel discomfort with negotiation and dealing with conflict, mostly because they've never learned how to deal with this effectively. So, they do what they think they should do. And what's fascinating, in one study, we found that 37% of men and 26% of women said they were comfortable negotiating. So if we flip those numbers around, that's a lot of people that are not comfortable negotiating and dealing with conflict. The other thing that you can see on your screen here is the importance of managing the emotional side of these kinds of challenges. We cannot, despite the fact that everyone would love to, keep our emotions out of this. Human beings are logical and emotional creatures. That is who we are. So when we suppress our emotions, what we're doing is pushing them away and aside or trying to. And that's why they often come back in a manner that is so uncomfortable. When we're angry, if we don't give voice to our anger, it's going to stay with us and it only gets worse. So we have to learn how to manage the emotional side, which you will learn in the program. Um, in addition to sort of the skills that exist, right? And you see a list of what are the top skills that we need in the workplace today: a good communicator, well organized, being a team player, a critical thinker, a creative thinker, etc. And the other one that's on here that's really important is easily adapts. You know, one of the interesting things that I've found over the years in working in the world of negotiation and dealing with conflict is that we have an inherent problem that we're always working with incomplete information. If Rashida and I have a conflict, Rashida knows things that I don't know that are important to her or about the situation, and vice versa. And so, as much as we would love to have a plan and be able to lay all this out cleanly and clearly, it doesn't work that way. The way it works is that we have to be prepared to take in information that we didn't realize was part of the problem and to adapt and to adjust and be flexible. And we teach you that in the program because it's an essential skill. You know, a lot of people, for example, struggle with uncertainty. They want to get out of it. There's an old saying when it comes to uncertainty: tell me yes, tell me no, but tell me something. And what we're going to do in this program is not do that. We're actually going to help you to sit with uncertainty because when you're uncertain, it's actually the time when you can come up with the most creative and best solutions possible. But most people don't realize that. So, there's a lot here that we talk about. And, you know, it's interesting. Sometimes people talk about quote unquote the soft skills. There's nothing soft about this. This is the hard part of life. And if you've been living, which you all are because you're tuning in here, you know that these kinds of situations are really difficult. They're the things that keep us up at night. They're the things that we worry a lot about, etc. Right? So we're going to help you with all of that. And that's the promise of this program. And it's the deliverable because we have 12 years of students who have completed the program and talked about how this program has changed them and impacted them. And I'll get to that in a minute. But let me give you a few quotes here, because again, to me, stories, quotations, other kinds of things are a great way to learn and to get the essence of an idea. So when it comes to conflict resolutions, Steve Gaudier said, we don't get harmony when everybody sings the same note. Only notes that are different can harmonize. The same is true with people. And it's interesting because oftentimes we think, let's find common ground. There's nothing wrong with common ground. But the things that make us different are also important when we deal with conflict because people see the world differently. They approach the world differently, right? Some people are more competitive, some are more accommodating, some are more avoidant. And so we have to know, what are these approaches? What are the styles that I'm dealing with, so that we can do what Goodyear says and harmonize these notes. Okay. Then we have Harriet Breaker, who says conflict can and should be handled constructively. When it is, relationships benefit. Conflict avoidance is not the hallmark of a good relationship. On the contrary, it's a symptom of serious problems and of poor communication. A lot of people hope conflict will go away, and it won't. I hate to tell you that, but conflicts don't go anywhere. A lot of times people will talk about it as, oh, it's like water rolling off my back, right? I just move on. You don't move on. It's more like moss building up, and then eventually you buckle under the weight of never dealing with the actual problem in front of you. We help you with that. The last quote I will give you is from Winston Churchill, the famous British Prime Minister, who said, kites rise against, not with the wind. And it's similar to what Goodyear is saying, right? That pushback and push and pull is a good thing if we can embrace it and not be afraid of it. And that's what Churchill's saying, is that I want people to challenge my ideas so that in the end we come up with better ideas. That's how people work. Okay, so that's conflict resolution. How about negotiation? A couple of quotes just to give you a little bit more to think about. So from Robert Easterbrook, he said, he who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of a diplomat. Often when I tell people, hey, when we negotiate, there are going to be times where we don't agree, and we have to say that, right? The question is, how do you say it? That is the art of negotiation. And that's what we teach you, is not just what to do, but how to do these things so that you are able to deliver a message that people will listen to and not shut you down. Okay. Victor Khayyam, who is a successful businessman, said, a negotiator should observe everything. You must be part Sherlock Holmes, part Sigmund Freud. I love this quote because for me, the best negotiators are people who listen really carefully. Because remember, if we're talking about incomplete information, right, and we're always working from that, then that means there are things we need to learn from the other, right? So if I'm part Sherlock Holmes, I'm investigating, I'm thinking, what don't I know about this situation? What do I need to know in order to get where I want to go, right? Part Sigmund Freud means there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I think you've all seen that meme that says, be nice to people because people are carrying baggage that you don't, and difficult circumstances that you don't know about. And people do that all the time in dealing with conflict and negotiation. They have previous experiences. They've had negative situations that are causing them to react this way. And so part of our challenge is to learn about the psychology that influences people when they're making decisions. And the last one is from Mark Rudolph. He says, negotiation is empathy. It's almost trite to say that if you can't put yourself in the seat of the other person you're speaking with, you're not going to do well. It's not about being a bully, not about making offers people can't refuse. Empathy is a critical component to negotiation. We have to understand the other because we want them to say yes, right? So we have to put something in front of them that meets their interests, just like we're trying to do for us, right? So it's an interdependent relationship that we're working on here. Okay. All right. So here's two quick scenarios that I thought I'd just put in front of you, and I'm going to give you a minute. Maybe you can just go ahead and pause the recording to look at these. But these are the kind of situations that we're going to teach you about and help you to kind of learn how you might manage something like this. So go ahead and hit the pause button, take a quick read. And again, it may not be exactly the kind of scenarios you confront, but they're relatable. Most of us in the working world have these kinds of situations that come up and are problematic or difficult, and we don't really know what to do with these, right? Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to look at that. Like I said, what we do in this program is go from theory to practice very quickly because we know the people who come in want that. They want to know, I got the theory, now help me to really grapple with what's going on in my world. How do I take this conflict that's happening in my workplace and really apply the things that we're talking about to that, right? That is what we focus on. A lot of the assignments that we give students are exactly that. They're take a scenario in your workplace and apply the skills that we've been talking about to that situation. So we are not just asking you to do it, we are really encouraging you to grapple with those challenges that are in front of you on a daily basis. And we're there to help you. You're going to get tons of feedback. One of the things that's really important to me as the director of the program is to have faculty who are not only skilled and knowledgeable in this realm, because they are, but also responsive. It does you no good to join an 8-week class and not get feedback after 3 or 4 weeks, right? And we really, it's a non-starter for me. If a faculty member is not responding to you in a short and concise period of time, that is not acceptable. And we have tremendous faculty who are committed, who love the students, who have superior backgrounds in all of this work, and it's phenomenal. And we hear that over and over again from the students, how much, not only how much the faculty care, but how much time and effort they put in giving them feedback. So the MS in conflict resolution and negotiation is a comprehensive degree in two of the most sought after knowledge areas and skill sets in the workplace today. With the rapid change in the way the world is working today, with AI, with technological developments, with a changing workforce, with a global workforce, these skills are essential. There's no way around it. Okay. And this is a degree that encompasses in-depth study with a focus on learning core theories, strategies, and analysis. And analysis is really important because we have to understand what's going on before we can solve the problem. And too often people push past the analytical stage and start doing things. And we just slow people down a little bit and say, let's analyze and understand what's really going on. Not what you think is going on, but what's really going on. It's really, really important. And then skill development and mastery. We give you a lot of opportunity to not only learn critical skills, but to master them through experiential learning. So you're going to do a lot of role plays and simulations with your colleagues, pairing you up in partnerships or in 3 or 4 um, party role plays to work on different things, as well as engaging in group projects and other kinds of things that really test your skills. And that's important because it's one thing to learn them, but it's another thing to test them and work on really developing the ones that you struggle with. Okay. The focus here is on practical application. We know the people we serve, and that's what they tell us over and over again is give us the information, the knowledge, the way of thinking about this, and then help us to apply it so we understand this. And we do at every turn. Now, I often get the question, who is this degree for? And the answer, and it may not be a very satisfying one, but it's the truth, is everybody. It doesn't matter what world you're in, what industry you're in. If you deal with people, you are going to deal with conflicts and you're going to negotiate. So if you're in the for-profit sector, the nonprofit sector, the public sector, some other sector I haven't mentioned, this is for you. Okay. And it's a degree that gets to sophisticated depths, including focusing on structural elements, right? We need to often look at the structure of an organization we work in to identify the kind of conflict that might be there. We also have to think about the virtual world, right? Many of us work globally and we're engaging with colleagues, counterparts, clients, and others using GoToMeeting and Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And so, what do we do in that virtual realm? Do we do the same thing that we do in face to face? And no, what's different about all of that, right? We also delve into the psychological because a lot of conflict happens between your ears. It's very simple. And so if you don't have a background in this, or even if you do, we will connect these pieces because the psychological dimensions of all of this are really, really important to the point. And in fact, we even have a course on the psychological dimensions of dealing with conflict and negotiation. And then we talk about key dynamics impacting the process. Usually people want to know, what do I do if I don't have power in a situation? How about gender? How about race? We tackle all of those. How about culture? How about time pressure? All of these things are an important part of the process of handling conflict and negotiating. Okay. And the wonderful thing about this degree is it's offered completely online. So to the working professional, the busy person with a family or other things going on, um, the really great part of this is you can do this degree when you have the time. And that is really terrific for most people. In fact, I've had students say, if it wasn't in this format, there'd just be no way that I could do it. Okay, so how is this degree unique? Why pick this one over something else? And by the way, let me just say, whatever the degree you pick, we want you to take the best one that fits your needs and meets your goals. So really important. That's our orientation at BayPath. And I'll talk to you about the C plus program that's part of this that gives you an ability to get a certification in something related to conflict resolution and negotiation, but different, whether it might be in the MBA program or the cyber program or data analytics, you name it. Okay, so we have the ability for you to get your master's here, but also get a certification in one of those other realms. So first of all, this master's degree program is unique. Okay, it's the only one that combines conflict resolution and negotiation. In Massachusetts, there is only one other online program in conflict resolution in the state. Okay, so there's a unique nature to this, and they don't weave in negotiation. So we bring you a whole nother level here that's really important. The focus is on transferable skills and what many people need to move from where they are to the next level. So, if you're a manager, if you're just starting out and you want to move up the chain and become a leader or become an effective manager, this is what you need to do that. Okay. And the degree provides flexibility, convenience, and a safe space for learning and exploration in an online context. We give you the opportunity to try things out. That's what those simulations and role plays are about. So you can put yourself in the shoes of a salesperson or a boss and have to negotiate from there, right? And it's those kinds of experiences that are safe because the consequences are not what you would find in your workplace, right? And there's an opportunity to really learn from that, to debrief and to think about what happened and what did you do well, but what you could have done better, right? That's the learning process that we really engage in. So these are a handful of quotes from some of the students that have previously been in the program. And I think you'll see that they love it. And I don't say that because I'm the director. I say that because that's what they tell me. They find it transformative. And frankly, what they will say to me is, I will never see the world the same way after having been in this program. And to me, there's probably no greater accomplishment for us than that, because what we are trying to do is get you to see a more nuanced, complex world that requires these skill sets and knowledge, and recognizes that much of your day is based on interdependent relationships, and that the most successful people out there are the ones who learn how to manage relationships effectively, where in the end people walk away being happy with what the end result was. That's our goal. Again, I can't promise it will always happen that way, because sometimes you deal with people who are just really, really difficult and they don't want a win-win kind of solution. That's life, right? But you increase your chances greatly by going through this program. So again, you can pause here and take a quick look at what people have to say about the program. And of course, I'm happy to talk to you. And the other thing that we are happy to do is connect you with graduates from the program who will tell you what it's all about. And trust me, they're not paid. They're not advocates on our behalf. They just have told me that they would be very happy to talk to people about their own experiences and tell you all what it's like to be a student in the program. Okay. All right. So why might this degree be for you? Well, it's going to help you to move from where you are in your career to the next level and hopefully beyond that, right? You're going to learn to appreciate your strengths, which is really important. Okay. We don't just focus on weaknesses. We help you to understand, hey, this is what you do really well. How do we build on that? Right. And we do have to talk about your weaknesses, but not to dwell on them, rather to think, how do I work on this? How do I get better at those things that I struggle with? That's what, lifelong learning and growth is all about. Right? You're also going to develop confidence in those around you that you're able to lead, negotiate, and handle difficult conflicts that come your way. And that makes you an incredibly valuable person in any organization, right? The biggest challenges, the biggest places where managers and bosses have to get involved is around difficult conflicts and things that people are incapable of handling effectively. That won't be you. Some of the key skills that you're going to learn: problem solving, assertiveness, empathy, dealing with difficult people, um, and having difficult conversations, developing emotional intelligence, as I said before, becoming more persuasive and increasing your ability to influence others, and how to deal with power when you don't have it, right? All of those things are difficult, but they are possible and doable when you learn them. And that's what the program is all about. A couple more things. So, how is this degree going to benefit your place of employment, right? Something to think about. If you've been at a place for a while, or you're thinking about perhaps making a change and shifting to a new place, right? Well, first, your boss or supervisor is going to gain a new level of confidence in you. When they see that you're capable of handling these kinds of challenges, not only are they going to have confidence in you, but they're going to start giving you more things to do. They're going to add to your plate in a good way, right? And we'll talk about how would you negotiate when they keep adding things to your plate, right? You're not going to do it for free. You're going to do it, and you're going to get promoted, and you're going to get a raise, and all those kind of fun things. Okay. You will become a more versatile employee who can do many things that rely on conflict resolution and negotiation. Okay. You're going to handle challenges with peers and others without the help of your boss. You're going to say to yourself, I got this. I know what to do, which is what people don't do now when they don't have the knowledge and skills to do this. And you're going to teach other employees by modeling what you've learned, sort of creating a ripple effect within the organization. Okay. I promise I won't be going on much longer. So, one way to think about the courses and the degree structure is a bit of a pyramid. And we start at the bottom with the foundation, as any good pyramid would do, right? You got to start at the bottom and work your way up. So the first three classes are really a lay of the land, is the way that I would put it. They were what are often called survey courses. So if you've had no background in any of these things, then what we do is we tell you, okay, here's an introduction to conflict resolution and negotiation. Here's an introduction to leadership for conflict resolvers, right? So we're going to not only teach you how to negotiate and deal with conflict, but if you're a leader, how do you utilize these skills and this knowledge, et cetera, right? And then the third class is we begin to weave all of this together, right? So we move into an advanced conflict resolution and negotiation class that talks about uncertainty. It talks about developing your adaptability and things like that. After that, we move into what I would call sort of topical courses. So places where there are things you're going to have to think about that are going to impact your approach to dealing with conflict and negotiation. So the first one is conflict resolution and negotiation in a virtual and multicultural world. So we talk about when you're dealing with these things virtually, what do you have to think about? When you're working cross-culturally, what do you need to think about? Okay. Then, as I mentioned, the psychological dimensions. So we talk about what's going on in your mind. How do biases and other kinds of things impact your thinking? Do you even know that you have all these biases that are impacting your thinking? Most people don't. That's why I say that. And then finally, we've got a new course that we've woven in here, AI-driven strategies for conflict resolution and negotiation. So we'll talk about how do you utilize AI tools to help you to resolve conflict and to negotiate, to prepare, to manage new ways of thinking and doing, and to think creatively. Okay. And that class is actually launching this coming year. So we're very excited about that one. Then we move into labs. Okay. And there are 4 labs. The first one is the planning and preparation skills lab. So we teach you how to analyze, how to prepare, how to plan for these kinds of challenges. Then we move into relational skills. So relational skills would be empathy, assertiveness, and dealing with power, and as well as persuasion and influence. Then there's the challenging situation skills. So dealing with difficult people, having difficult conversations. Um, how do I work with power when I don't have it? And then finally, the intangible skills, where we learn about emotional intelligence. How do we deal with trust And how do we rebuild trust when it's broken? How do we manage relationships effectively? Now, before I told you that the degree can be done in such a way where you take 7 of these classes and you can get a certification by taking 3 classes in another program. Could be the MBA program, could be cybersecurity, could be data analytics. There's a whole litany of programs that you can choose from. So you can decide to take all the 10 classes in this program, or you can take 7 core classes and then add a certification with 3 additional courses that will take the place of some of these. You can make that decision on your own. Okay. All right. So, Rashida, would you like to kind of just take us through these last couple slides and let people know how they can get in touch with us, how they can get started on their applications and things along those lines?
Absolutely. So the learning platform that all students will use in the grad program will be on Canvas. You'll be able to access your email from there, your classwork, as far as the week to week, what's going on, and it's broken into modules. So Dr. Weiss teaches and his team, they go through, they'll support you, they'll answer those emails through there. Also, if he has what we would call a hybrid course where somewhere in there they may do a live talk at night, you may see a Zoom link and a Zoom bank. So you'll be able to pull up stuff, watch it on there, as well as access it from your desktop, your tablet, and mobile devices. I did learn that looking up your grades on mobile devices does not work. So you do need to log in on your desktop in order to pull it up. As far as the telecommunication ability, you'll be able to access it through that as well. And obviously, we have supportive staff. So we have staff that work with IT as far as getting all your computer doodads done. And then you also have support teams when it comes specifically to Canvas. So you'll have that at your beck and call to utilize if you're having discrepancies when using the portal for Canvas. And if you can't get in contact with that, always reach out to myself or Dr. Weiss, as he is your academic advisor as well as your program director, and he's phenomenal. So
Rashida,
when we're
add one quick thing to that. Sorry to interrupt you. I just
yeah,
want to let people know that one thing that we've instituted, that we instituted a number of years ago, is to do an optional synchronous session every week. So for students who don't want to be off, in the cyber world on their own, toiling away in this way, we offer an optional synchronous session. So every week, the faculty we'll set a time, maybe sometimes it's noon, sometimes it's 8 o'clock at night. Usually we try to do them at night so that when people are working, they can do their thing. And it's usually an hour to 90 minutes. And so it's a live Zoom session with the faculty and other students. We do make it optional because we know not everybody can come. But if you do come to that, you do less discussion posts. So typically, the way in which this works is each week you have to do 2 original discussion posts and then 2 responses to your classmates. If you come to the Zoom synchronous session, you only need and participate actively in things like that, then you only need to do 1 original post and 1 response to your classmate. We do that because some people prefer to learn that way, right? Some people like to talk things out, to ask questions and things along those lines. So all of the faculty in the program make themselves available every week for students to come at a given time and have that kind of learning experience. So I just wanted to make sure you understood that if that is indeed how you learn, we have that kind of option for you as part of this. Back to you, Rashida.
And that's where I say, as BayPath, as faculty, you guys are phenomenal. You hear what the students are asking, and we provide it. So we hear some people work better alone, some people work better with a group and learning virtually and seeing stuff. So we definitely will make it tangible and flexible for you in the program. When we're looking at financial aid, yes, there's been changes, but we have an awesome student financial aid service that will work with you. Whether you need to meet through a phone call, an email, or in person by coming to campus, you definitely can do that. We also can do a virtual call with you through our our staff that will work with you. We have plenty of on demand videos in a library of those to help you with applying for financial aid as far as doing your application for it. And FAFSA Tuesdays are very helpful. A lot of students always are like, how do I fill this out? We were younger when we started, and now we're figuring it out on our own. So definitely, you can always ask a question if you need more support in it. Typically, when you're trying to set up and get contact information, I would always suggest using the email address. You'll get a quicker rebuttal just because this is the season of high peak time of everyone trying to get into universities and colleges. So it's a lot of information going back and forth with our financial aid department working with you. And typically, a student, if they're going for their graduate degree, they get either a Stafford loan, and you'll be able to get up to 20,500 per school year to utilize for your schooling. And you'll be able to do that in the comfort of your home and get stuff done. When it comes to applying for coming into this program, you will complete our free online application. You'll have to send in your official transcripts for your undergrad and graduate degree. Both myself and Dr. Weiss will be reviewing those to make sure, hey, maybe the GPA may be a little bit lower. He is always open to working with you to make sure that's okay. We do prefer for our students to have a 4.0, or that's logical. So when we're looking at this, an essay, I love the essays. I don't know about you, Dr. Weiss, but learning about students and what their dreams and aspirations are when they're moving forward in their career, especially if they're in an industry they want to be in, learning how this program can help them to prosper is always a good thing. So letting us know what your personal goals are and your professional goals for yourself are very important for us. A current resume is also important, and we'll need that in the packet. And then when it comes to your recommendation forms, you can do one or two things. It can be an academic recommendation form, which you can have an academic advisor or a professor that's working with you if you're currently in college for some part of your life. Or if you're in the industry and you're working and you have a supervisor or coworker that works with you day in and day out, they're awesome at this. This is not for family and friends to fill out for you, because we want to know everything about you and how you work in a professional stance and make sure that you're comfortable. So you know your pressures, because these are things that are going to come up. As he said, a weakness, you're going to learn about it, but you're going to be able to adapt it. So we want to know these things about you when you do these forms. Trust me, Dr. Weiss, he pays attention to it. So, and if he has any questions, he'll reach out and say, Rashida, I need to meet with this student. So I love that about him as far as talking to our students. When it comes to whether you have questions about the program itself, typically a student will touch base with me or email Dr. Weiss, and he will definitely meet with you, go over the program. Because a lot of students, I think, as you said, they always ask, well, what do I do once I get this degree? How is it beneficial for me? And it may be that he can go a little bit deeper into it than I would. And then when you're looking at your admission process, I will definitely be the person that will be working with you through that, as well as answering any questions about the program. And so we work back and forth all the time to make sure you guys are good. Dr. Weiss, one of the questions that our students always ask is, what does a typical week look like for the classes when the students start?
Yeah, it's a good question. And so let me answer that. Let me also just say two quick things about the GPA requirements and the essay. So if you fall outside of the 3.0 to 4.0, don't let that deter you. Please, apply and let us know Like what happened? I had somebody who fell beyond that, and they said, look, when I was in college, I didn't take things seriously, and I've been working as a manager for 20 years, and I want to grow and develop. Well, to me, that's good enough, right? Like I want to give that person a chance. So, we don't take any one thing and make a decision off of that. We put everything together to look at the scenario in front of us. The essay that Rashida mentioned is critically important. I want to know why you want to do this. And I love hearing from people who say, this is the place where I struggle, or, I've gotten better and I've tried to work at this, but I know that I need more structured learning. So take the time to do that. To be honest, that's probably the most important thing you're going to submit is the essay. It matters a lot to me what you have to say, why you want to do this, and how committed you are to this. And that leads me into the question that you posed, Rashida, about what's the commitment look like. So typically, we have people, it's about 50 to 75 pages, maybe 100 pages a week at the high end. Okay. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is that every week you have discussion questions. And as I said before, the requirement is two original responses to the discussion questions and then two responses to your classmates' posts so that we get some interaction happening between you. In addition to that, we often have role plays and simulations you'll do. So what we'll do is we'll pair you up with another student and say, look, you guys find a time to use Zoom or FaceTime or Microsoft Teams or whatever it is to do this negotiation. It should take you no more than a half an hour. Go ahead and engage with it when, reach out to your partner and figure that out, right? So you'll have simulations. Some classes are more heavily reliant on simulations, others are less so, right? We also have a reflection journal that we give you from time to time. Those journals are usually every other week. So if you're in an 8-week class, which is what our courses are like, you'd have 4 reflection journals. And what those journals look like are really, sort of stepping to the 64,000 foot level. They're zooming up and saying, what did I really learn here this week? And why does it matter? How do I make sense of this? Or what am I struggling to learn? And then finally, when it comes to most of the classes, often we'll have a short midterm paper, a couple of pages at most, because again, the classes are condensed. And then we don't have exams. I don't find exams are the best way to learn about all of this. What we do is have papers and essays that you have to write. And so you'll usually have a 4 to 5, maybe 6-page paper at the end of the course that you're going to write about something related to the class and things like that. And then we also have other creative assignments. Some of the other faculty do their own thing. Like one of the assignments that I do is something called a negotiation montage, where you have to actually take images that represent who you are as a negotiator and put them all together and talk about your strengths and weaknesses. And then, accompany those images with an explanation of why you picked them. So you might have a lion, right? And you might think, I'm good at being assertive. Or if you're a mouse and you have a mouse on your imagery, it means you're feeling pretty accommodating, and you need to work on that kind of thing. So we try to give you a variety of different kinds of assignments to keep it interesting and fun, because learning should be both interesting and fun. So that's the essence of it, and the one thing I'll say to you is, look, this is a graduate program. We don't punish you. We know life gets in the way. We work with you. When things come up, I often say, just let me know. That's the most important thing, is tell me there's a family situation. Tell me you have a work problem. Tell me what's going on so that I can work with you. We have a lot of tools to do just that, but I don't know unless you tell me, right? And both Rashida and I are here to make your educational journey rewarding and fulfilling. And at the end of it, we want you to turn around and say, that was really worth it. I'm really glad we did that. And so that's what we're here for. So you can lean on us in that way. if you choose to go down this road. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody who's interested in the program about the essence of it, the nuances, the concerns you might have, things like that.
Absolutely. Dr. Weiss, are there any issues as far as prerequisites that a student would have to have in order to come into your program? What does their undergrad degree need to be in order to come in?
Does not need to be in any specific realm. Any degree is acceptable. And in fact, even um, juniors and seniors at Bay Path are able to take some of the introductory courses as part of this to see if they like it and things like that. So you could have a degree in data science and you realize that, hey, I've been in the working world for 5 years and I'm really good with data science and things like that. But I don't really know how to deal with people, and that's what I need to do. So no, any degree is great.
Awesome. Okay. And if they have any questions when it comes to, do they have to buy books for the classes or are they electronic?
So there are some books that you're going to have to buy, but we also have some books that are purchased by Hatch Library that are ebooks that students can utilize. We do our utmost best to keep the cost down. You will typically not spend more than $50 to $75 per class on any required materials, and as I said, we do our best to minimize that as best as possible. And the nice thing about the world of conflict resolution and negotiation is we don't use a lot of textbooks. We use books that are written kind of for pop culture because that's where a lot of people are interested in this kind of knowledge and information. And so they're not dense reads. They're reads that are interesting, engaging, filled with examples and stories and things like that. So, the students really say to me, we really love the material in the program because it's easy to digest. It's not, a hard slog to get through it.
hmm And I know when we talked about it, there are 14 pathways you can go with on doing your program, plus doing a certification. So,
Mhm.
just like the other business programs, you can utilize any of those programs and add to what you're learning with this, depending on what industry you're in or what you see yourself going into. So, you'll be able to stack up if you want to do more than one. So by doing your program, they're doing 10 courses. So it's 7 core classes and 3 electives based on the certification pathway you're going.
Mhm.
We do have open enrollment, so you're able to apply all year round. Dr. Weiss and I are always looking at application packets and going through everything. So you have a fall start date, which is October 26th this year. And then we also have a spring start date, which is in March. So if you're looking to do that, you definitely can. When they start their classes, do they start with their electives first or do they start with core classes? A lot of students ask me that.
Yep. So they start with those core foundational classes. So those foundational classes, the intro to conflict resolution and negotiation, then the intro for leaders as conflict resolvers, and the advanced class. You have to take those three in sequence. Once you've done that, then it's less rigid. You can take different classes when you'd like. I mean, the sequence that I laid out is the preferred sequence, but we've had a lot of students do it differently, and it's fine. It's just that you need the core knowledge to have the base to then learn the other things. So it's really those three classes that you take in a row. And as we've talked about, our courses are 8 weeks long, and once you begin the program, you keep going. There's often a week between one class ending and another beginning, but you keep going. You go through the summer, and that's how you're able to finish the degree in 1 to 2 years. And the difference is if you do one class every 8 weeks, you would be able to finish the program in 2 years. If you do two classes every 8 weeks, you can finish it in a year. And that workload, is something that's important to understand, and something that I can talk through with you if you're not sure which is best. Honestly, for me, I typically will advise people if you're working full time and you have a family, I would really encourage you to start with one class at a time. You can always switch over to a more accelerated pace if you feel like you can handle it, but let's just make sure that you can handle it.
Right. And a lot of students always ask, well, do I register? Yes, you register yourself for classes, but you have Dr. Weiss that will give you a layout of what you need to do, just like he showed today. So you'll definitely have that to help you as you go through, and you'll see degree audits and different things as that as you go through. So you definitely will have a lot of support, whether you're looking at career success, as far as looking for internships or job placements all over the world, because we have a lot of companies that come back and ask for it, not only because of the professors that work with our students, but also because our students go out into the industries and you guys are phenomenal. So we want to see the program grow, and he's listening. So any feedback you have about this program, this is the man that you need to have that conversation with, or myself. We'll definitely adapt stuff and be more flexible to see what we can do within time. We're excited for this AI part to it. I can't wait. So this is going to be fun. Dr. Weiss, I truly thank you for the time of going over your program with us. And if I definitely get any calls or emails, you will be the first person that I contact. But thank you for your time and going over your program.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening, and we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a good evening.
Thanks.